Knights at the Round Table, a round-table discussion on speculative fiction books and film.
You are so.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knights at the Round Table. This is the last episode of the season, and we are doing Addams Family.
Woo!
Last movie.
Oh, last movie.
There's a book left.
Oh, there's a book left. Well, apparently there's a book left. But we are doing the last movie of the season, which is Addams Family.
I love it. This is a
Perfect.
great way to end the year, I gotta say.
Well, I don't know. People don't keep me in the loop. I'm just not important enough.
Oh, that's so untrue. Come on,
Even
Sonia,
though I'm
get with
clearly
it.
Sonia.
This is perfect.
So I'm actually Nathan, and we are really doing the Addams Family.
Yes, we are. So, I love my first comment in my notes is, it's been so long since I've watched this. I feel like this explains so much when this and Beetlejuice and some other movies are like my favorite movies. Just, it says a lot about a person. But yeah, the beginning song, you can't go anywhere without people knowing immediately what
Yeah.
it is. And
Four notes, and you're in.
exactly.
Yeah.
Snap, snap. I posted it on my Facebook. A whole bunch of people are like, "This is great." But yeah,
So let's start with first impressions, like general impressions.
I love it. It's amazing. I can't believe I haven't watched it more actually, because it's just so good. Like, I was a huge fan of the cartoon series as well, but oh, this is so good.
So I hadn't seen this movie in so long that I'd actually never seen it in English. The last time I've seen this movie, I didn't speak English.
Well, that makes sense.
So, I also can't believe, like, I was really afraid of rewatching this movie this weekend because I was like, oh, what if it's gross and racist and homophobic and all of these things that my favorite movies from my youth have now become. Or were always, but I'm now realizing were all along. But no, this actually aged particularly well. And I rewatched it. I actually watched it twice this week because I couldn't believe how well it had aged, and I'm like, this is something that I'm going to make my kids watch at some point.
Oh, absolutely, you should. I mean, there were so many moments in this movie that I'm just like, oh yeah, like, and it's so funny how I would react, like, the moment you see that tiny little car come up to the house, and it's like, cousin it, like, you immediately know, right? I just got so excited for, like, the dumbest little things. I'm like, why have I not watched this more?
It's actually a really great movie, and it's a movie that's you know, I always figured, oh well, it's super goth. It's about people who are like murderers and this, but it's really not. It's about completely ordinary people who are a bit eccentric, you know, but they're at the bottom of like who they are. They're actually really kind and weirdly normal people.
Yeah. Like,
you know, they're just a family.
exactly. Like, okay, so let's talk about the relationship between Morticia and Gomez.
Oh God, one of the best relationships ever.
These two, they're so good. And the music that plays every time, it's like, oh, my shitty. Like, just all the right things are just, oh my God.
And you know, like, these people have been together for like many years. They have 2 children. They have like domesticity, and you know, but they're still very much in love. They greet each other every single morning like it's the morning after their honeymoon.
Yeah.
You know, and more people should take example about this. And it's not just about like how they speak to each other. It's also like, you know, there's a lot of things that change in Gomez's life in this movie. And every single time he's about to make a decision, he consults Morticia.
Yeah.
He always asks for her opinion. He regards her not just as like, oh, whatever, you know, like, I'm a rich guy and I have a wife. Like, she's his equal in every way. He looks up to her. He respects her actively. You know, and this is a big part of what makes their relationship so successful.
I agree. They're so perfect, and it just goes to show you what a really healthy relationship is supposed to be like. Like, this is what you should model your relationships after, is that equal level, that undying love, literally.
Absolutely.
Undying. Like, it's just...
And it's not all roses. They go through a lot. There's parts of their relationship, like when he's playing with his trains, when he's sitting at home in the motel watching Jeopardy and stuff like that, and like incessantly calling daytime talk shows to find out where the witch doctors are meeting. And he's going through like depression, but she's there and she supports him at every single turn, and everybody's like expressing concern, and like, he's not himself anymore. She's always like, oh, it hurts her, but she doesn't resent him for it. She's just like, he's going through a bad patch, and he needs my love and help.
Exactly. And it's just, so about the roses, I really love, so one of the things, like, when I have been found to say to, like, exes that, don't give me flowers, they die. Like, give me something meaningful, give me something that I'll use, give me something... Even taking me to food is better than giving me flowers and roses. But I love that you see them in the greenhouse, if you can call it that, and she's chopping off the heads of the roses and throwing them out, because really the thing that lasts the longest are the stems. Like, no need for the flower heads. I just
when you think about it, like, the true strength of the rose is the thorns.
Yeah.
It's the defense mechanism. It's what makes them special and different than other flowers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so good. So, about the kids, the moment you see Wednesday, played by Christina Ricci, I was like, she was so little back then.
Yeah, this is the thing where, like, my wife is asking me, like, because I watched it with her. She'd never seen it before. She'd never seen Addams Family before. So I watched it with my wife, obviously, because I was like, this is, you should see this.
Absolutely.
And she was like, oh, when was this movie made? Like, was it the 80s, the 90s? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was 91 or 92, because I think Christina Ricci's exactly my age.
Oh my God.
And she is.
Oh.
And I'm old.
No, you are not old.
But no, her performance in that movie is just masterful.
My God.
And I think she was so good in it that it was actually detrimental to her career, because she was never really anything else than Wednesday Addams.
That's true. And ironically, if you look at the trivia bits on IMDb, she did say that her favorite role, or one of her favorite roles, was playing Wednesday Addams. So that speaks volumes about...
There are not many 10-year-old girls who could be as deadpan as she is in that
movie. My God. Disturbingly deadpan. And you're like, I love you so much. This is so precious. And like, moments like Morticia is like, is that for your brother? It's just, like a common, like, normal knife, and she's like, here, and gives like this bigger epic, I don't even know what you call that.
This is actually a moment that I would like to address, because as a parent, this is the first time I saw this movie as a parent. I was like, whoa, this is weird. Like, why are they letting their children do these things that are plainly dangerous? And so they're obviously fine. Like, they do this every day. They electrocute each other. They, use guillotines on each other. They use weapons on each other. They don't get hurt. They're fine. They're obviously fine. So this is something that is an enjoyable activity to them, and they've never come to an actual real harm. Doing this activity. And as a parent, you are responsible for keeping your child safe, but you're also responsible for teaching them about the world and letting them test their independence. And like, I'm not advocating for giving big machetes to your children. Please don't do that. I'm just saying that in the case of the Addams Family, this is what works for them. And in that moment, you see she's actually having a conversation with, I think it's Margaret? I
think so.
Talking about how Gomez just doesn't spit blood like he used to. And
yes, that's true. I forgot about
that. And Wednesday's coming, and she's like, this is a toy that my child is playing with. My children are disturbed by the status of their father. Here, have something better, honey. This is actually a weird but caring gesture from a loving parent in their way of doing things. And the one thing that this movie celebrates more than anything else is, like, just because people are different and do things that work for them, just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yes, exactly.
And this is the prevailing message throughout this entire movie.
Yeah, and it takes it to a bit of an extreme place so that, I mean, you can pay attention, because sometimes people don't get those vague underlining, you know, moral of the story. Sometimes you just have to throw it in their face, much like that play that, like, let's make it better, and just the blood is everywhere on, like, the front 3 rows, and the family is so like, yeah, we made that performance better, like, amazing, and everybody else is horrified.
And I love how much they love their children. You know, they're gonna be there every step of the way. They're gonna go to parent-teacher meetings. They're super supportive. They're proud of their accomplishments.
Yes.
You know, this is an incredibly loving and tightly knit family. And you know, everybody should be so lucky to have parents like the Addams.
I agree. Absolutely. Like, oh my god.
I love the scene where she's talking to the teacher and is like, oh, she picked so and so for her project. Oh dear, have you spoken to her mother?
Yes. Or whatever it was, and she's like, oh, she did this, oh, how unfortunate. Like, so many quality moments in this movie. It's
yes. And this is one of the things that I love most about it, is you see Fester, he's you know, he's integrating this family, and he's sort of like trying to hide who he is, and then all of a sudden, like, the family is not only accepting, but completely embracing who he is, because this is also who they are. And there's a whole concept of chosen family going on through this movie, which I'll touch back on later, but his relationship to the children. You know, like, the children have nothing to offer him financially, and presumably that's why he's here, and he's seeking acceptance, and he's getting a bit of acceptance from Morticia, from Gomez. You know, they're doing things with him, they're trying to integrate him, but it's helping the kids that truly brings out not only who he is, but who they are as a family. And the fact that, you know, his mother tells him, oh, well, you can't do this, you can't get attached to these kids, you're not supposed to do all these things, and he sneaks out when he's supposed to meet her to help them put on this play.
This epic
bloody play. It's you know, this is the moment where he becomes an Addams.
Yes, I agree. And there is, like, an element of when Fester comes in, you're trying to determine, well, is this really him or not? Because they don't necessarily tell you if he's truly Fester Addams or not.
No, and that's a thing that is really amazing that I never really realized about this movie. At the very end, when they're like, oh, well, apparently, she found him shipwrecked. These things do happen. And it's so incredible. And you know, you're like, oh, well, it could happen because it's the Addams. But at the same time, this is like, maybe he's not Fester. And maybe it doesn't really matter because he is like them. Whatever blood relations they have, he is their true kin.
Yeah.
And they've recognized that in each other, and they're now a family, and that's how families are formed.
Exactly, and they just, it's kind of like that idea of your blood relatives, you don't get to pick them, but your friends, the ones that you consider to be your family, like, those are really your family, and this is kind of what this movie feels like with the Addams and Fester when he comes in, is they're like, well, you're family, you're part of the group, like, we're going to accept you no matter what because you're here and you're caring and you look after the kids and help with their play and do all of these things, and it's just that acceptance, you know, and it's like, at the end he just turns around and says, well, you're not my mother because all you're going after is money. This is a family. You are just blood related or something, you know, like adopted or whatever it happens to be. Because at the end they do say that because he was found in the Bermuda Triangle with no memory, you don't, like, I don't think she's actually related to him either. So, like, it just goes to show you family. So before we had started filming, I was talking about sometimes when it comes to movies, I will find certain things funny or certain things interesting that most other people would have no idea. So one of those moments happened in this movie where they're trying to get into the vault and they're just picking, what things, and they slide down that weird slide and a song plays. And I'm like, oh my god, that's Oh Little Playmate. It was a song that I used to sing with my brother and my mom when I was a kid. I'm like, so my mom was over yesterday and I said to her, did we get this song from this movie? Like, is that where that came from? And my mom is like, I actually don't know. So I have no idea. But it was just one of those freaky moments where I'm like, holy crap! Just, yeah, that was one of those. Were there any crazy moments like that are just so...
No, because it actually sounds really different in English than it does in French.
Oh.
A lot of the names that Morticia calls Gomez are French.
Yes.
In the French version, they're Italian.
Oh, I was going to ask you that.
That was a little jarring. When I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's so funny because I was just thinking, if you saw it in French, well, then everything is in French,
No.
and you wouldn't get that.
No, they still made it. They just made it Italian, which his are Italian, so it was a little. Anyway.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm amused. Anyways, I got nothing. So, let's talk about the acting. So there are two separate things that I wanted to look at. One was Morticia Addams has like a very quiet seduction about her.
She does, and she's extremely regal, and her presence, and the fact that she's able to maintain this throughout the whole movie and everything that she does is kind of really impressive.
So on that note, another one of those moments, they talk about how Angelica Huston every single day had to wear a metal corset, and they had to do fake nails, neck tucks, and something else, which I didn't write down, every single day to keep that appearance, which is interesting. But it's more in the line delivery and like the subtle...
Yeah, it's her expressions and gesture. Like every tilt of her eyebrow is precisely calculated.
Yes, and it's so good, and I love the acting in this. Like, she's so good.
Angelica Houston, I mean, she's a phenomenal actress. Yes. But Raul Julia is really good. I didn't remember him being so good. His performance is so vibrant. You believe, this man. He's so exuberant and full of joy in everything that he does. And he walks that tight line between like very, very confident and able and stable and like not quite well, very well.
Yeah. And it's funny because you see some of that in the train sequence where the train, he's like, Wah! Like the look on his face is just.
But it's also like the Gomez who's exuberant and sword fighting his accountant and
oh my god, I love those
the
scenes.
Gomez who's sitting in front of the TV in like this dirty wife beater just grumbling. It's the same man, and you completely believe that it's the same man, but they're two very, very different ways to act.
Yeah.
And he conveys it so well.
Yes, I agree with you. He's just so good. I wish I had seen more things with him in it, just because oh my god, so good. But also one of the weird things that I looked up, so acting, Thing is a hand and is able to express a great deal just as a hand, like the bink bink and the like, just the subtle little things are just so good. And the fun thing about that is Thing, the guy that plays the hand, he only does all movies that I would never watch, but like horror-based movies where it's like, equivalent like things where it's the hand that's coming after you. So
he's a hand actor.
He's a hand actor.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
That's all he does. I'm like, why have I? Because I'm looking at this hand and I don't know what it is, but for some reason I'm like, why have we not seen this more? And it's probably because it's all in horror, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, he is so good because you don't see that specific hand.
You get a lot of emotion through the thing, and it's actually a weird character because he's a really important character in the movie. Like, he's their pet, but he's also, the hardest contributing. When they all go out and get jobs, he's actually the one that gets the best
FedEx job.
He's so good at it too.
And what's great about this is that this family is so abnormal, but the movie portrays it in such a way like this is everyday life. This is nothing special. Like, nobody reacts to Thing walking down the street. He's just Thing.
Yeah.
That is it. There is nothing else extra. Nobody is like terrified, except for maybe Margaret the first time.
Okay, but I love Margaret. Can we talk about Margaret?
Let's talk about Margaret.
Great character. Margaret, she starts out at this like, oh, she's the wife of the accountant, whatever. She's there as like the normal human comic relief who's horrified, but no, she has substance, and she's unhappy with her life, and she has a really nice ending, and in the end, she's also part of the family.
Yeah, because she, I guess, like marries Cousin It, or is like in a relationship with Cousin It, and you're like, that's awkward and awesome at the same time.
It makes me so happy for her because she was so miserable with that awful lawyer dude.
Yeah.
Who was really, really disrespectful of her throughout the whole movie, and she really just needed someone who would listen to her.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just says, it speaks volumes to, like, certain relationships today where people just aren't communicating very well and aren't listening very well. And here's a relationship that shows, well, I am unhappy with this, so I'm gonna go elsewhere and find somebody who will.
And not only that, but she picks up on the way that Cousin It is speaking right away.
Yeah.
Because she pays attention, she listens, she learns his language. Yeah. And in the end, or their language, I don't know, in the end, they're together, and Cousin It is speaking, and she understands everything, and she's just having great conversations.
Yeah, and you're sitting there going, I'm not sure what Cousin It is saying. It's kind of like Kenny in South Park, where unless you watched Bigger, Longer, and Uncut in theaters, you had no idea what he was saying. But in the theater, you could actually hear him. You actually understood. You just had to listen closely. But anyways, that's a sidetrack entirely. But yeah, Margaret was also funny because there was one point where she's like, oh, I could just eat him or something like that.
Yeah.
And
oh, no, too young.
Too young. Because the look on her face was like, what? So good. They're like, just everything in this movie was just so good. But like, definitely by the end of the movie, you're sitting there going, okay, love prevails. Like, you can have healthy, communicative relationships.
And you should be yourself.
Yes,
and
exactly.
This is a thing that, you mentioned Beetlejuice at the beginning of this thing. And this is the thing that, like, for me, is a stark contrast to Beetlejuice. Because Beetlejuice is all about a goth girl who is normalized, who is brought to be normal like everybody else through her experiences with the supernatural. And the Addams Family is completely the opposite of that. Yes. It's a family who tried to go normal, and you know what? It doesn't work for them because that's not who they are. And not only do they return to being exactly who they are and happy that way at the end, but all of the people who tried to force normalcy onto them are now part of their family, and they are happy being who they are. Yes, and it's just, this movie just is so good for so many reasons. I was going to go with trivia and checking if there's anything super important. So, something just completely funny to me is it was one of those, it totally escaped my mind. Lurch is Mr. Hum from The Next Generation.
And I'm like,
Oh my god.
When you watch this movie, you just completely forget that fact.
He's just Lurch. He can't possibly be anything else.
It's true. But then it's funny because he is the actor of Lurch is actually that tall. That's not stilts. That's not anything crazy. He is actually that tall. I just remember seeing that somewhere. I just thought it was funny. One of the other interesting trivia bits was the book that unlocks the vault. Because, it's the classic, it's a wall of books and you just pull... So there could be a vault behind any one of these and you just pull a book and who knows, they have a secret stash. But the book that they pull on is Greed. And it's written by J.P. Adams, which was a reference to James Pierpont Morgan, or J.P. Morgan, the bank.
Right.
That still exists today.
I didn't know that, but it makes a lot of sense.
It does, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Also says a lot. Also, just with the money, when he gets that the accountant gets that suitcase of money, there was that symbol that I immediately think of, like, the East India Trading Company from Pirates of the Caribbean, because it's the same symbol and, like, the same letters. I'm like, I wonder how many times they've used those coins in movies. It was just a random thing that I noticed.
Yeah. Can't be that many fake doubloons around.
True. Not wrong.
So I think we should move on to final thoughts and star ratings.
Yeah. I will love this movie forever. Probably watch it more times just because it is so good. So many good things. And it's quirky. It fits all moods that you could be in. It's great. So I think I'm going to go with like a 4.5 or a 5 even. Somewhere around there. This is so good.
So this is a phenomenal movie that I didn't remember I liked so much. And I just I wish there were more movies like this that,
Agreed.
Being yourself, even though you don't fit in, is fine. It's not just fine, it's what you should do. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars because it's such a queer narrative. I wish it was actually queer. That's my rating.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Shall we pick what we're starting the next season with?
I guess so. Let's go with... Ooh! Haven't we done this, though? Did we do this? It's Riddick, 2013.
Nope.
I just feel like it...
We've done the first 2.
Excellent. I'm excited. I'm totally doing that. I love Riddick.
2013?
I know, right? Has it been that long?
Wow.
Oh my god. I feel old.
Well,
Simpsons reference.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this season of Knights of the Round Table, and don't forget to like and subscribe and ring our little bell and check out our Patreon and all of those awesome things, and I hope to see you again for next season. Bye! Oh, I guess I'm Sonia today.